I'm Ben.
And what are we doing? Are you going?
I'll go first. I'm Ben.
All right.
I'm Ben.
And I'm John.
This sounds like on Andertons TV.
Today, we are doing sounds like Sum 41 without bursting the bank.
We have listened to your comments and we are upping the budget. So before we've been working at about £1,000. We're going old school again, back in deer, and we are upping it to 1,500 again.
Yeah, so 150% of as much money as we had.
So no more Boss katanas. I'm joking. There's probably going to be.
They probably will show up.
There's probably going to be a katana
but
somewhere.
not today, I don't think.
No.
We'll make an exception. Anyway, you're going to be Derek Whibley.
Whibley.
And I'm going to be Dave, the lead guitarist. Quite an interesting one. Even though they're a punk band, they're quite metal and aggressive, so we need to get some like proper kit for this.
Yeah.
Nothing too like punk and old school and a bit naff and lo-fi. Like we need to do it right.
All out.
So we're in the place to do it. We're in Andertons in Guildford, Surrey, England land. Let's go inside.
England land. Let's go. Yeah,
Probably.
so starting at acoustic. No.
Derek Whibley, what do you use?
So, I mean, the most iconic thing is probably like a single humbucker Tele Deluxe kind of thing. So wide range humbucker. Gibsons as well in the past. So maybe look at Epiphone, but my gut probably tells me that we're gonna probably be looking for something wide range humbucker or anything Tele humbucker, I think.
Yeah.
So
what's the ratio of like amp to guitar? Like what percentage?
I'm probably gonna be thinking more about the amp.
Okay.
I know looking back through various bits of rig history that it's primarily Marshall, Messer, that kind of sound of, I call it the American Pie era of music.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, sure,
Good
yeah.
Charlotte, Sum 41, all that stuff. So can't afford a Messer for under 1,500. So
Dave has used quite a bit actually. Nowadays he's on Duesenberg in the
Which is
twilight of Sum 41's career.
wicked.
Yeah, really, really good actually. I think it suits him. He's used PRS in a few videos, as well as Gibson. He's used everything, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to try and go for something that matches that kind of Duesenberg-y, old school-ish aesthetic, but still
Yeah.
kind of modern, kind of versatile.
A bit different, a bit more quirky.
Yeah, that's the word, and a bit kind of, you know, left field of stuff. So, I mean, we're here in the Chapman area. I think they're going to be, honestly, a bit too modern.
Yeah.
Let's go onward into Fender land.
Onward.
Yeah. You're saying humbucker as well, right? So
Yeah.
when I think Derek Whibley, I think of that kind of. Actually, no, it's like a.
It's more like the wide range. So Vintera,
Vintage Headstock as well on that. That's on brand.
that's wicked. 969. I think it's going to be a little. I think it is going to be a little bit too much on the pricier end of things. So I mean, they're wicked. I mean, this would be an absolute punk machine.
Nice finish on that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Actually, that's pretty.
So it's that classic vibe with Paranormal 349 as well.
What does that switch do? It's only one pickup.
Dunno. Ollie!
Hello, mate.
This is Ollie. What does that switch do?
It's a coil split, humbucker, and then humbucker bypassing all the knobs, so it's like a blow switch.
I love a blow switch. And it has got this amazing sparkle finish.
only just
That's
seen
wicked.
it.
Yeah. I'm 100% sold on this because that does give me hella budget to get a pretty good amp here.
Yep.
And maybe it does give me budget for anything like maybe EQ or overdrive if I do want to just go all out with it.
Yeah.
So
You don't need a neck pickup at all.
I
off
am
the top of
pretty
my
sure
head.
they did do a Squire Derek Whibley signature model years ago. If it's good enough for him, it's going to be good enough for me. I think I'm sold on the Squire. Shall we?
All right.
What alternative do we go for Duesenberg for?
Yeah, so I don't really need anything too extravagant. I want something vintage, so maybe P90s, maybe single core flavour, but really I need a bridge humbucker. That's
that's the main
if anything
thing.
on it, it needs to have one of them. So, Fender, I was looking around, most of these, you know, by Fender are going to mostly be single core kind of guitars. I actually saw this. Every time I've been to this store over the last year, I've seen that, and it's the most beautiful thing
The
ever.
Voitran Lewin.
This area of the shop, though, is looking good. Reverend. We're in the corner of Reverend. What have we got? We've got some P90s. I don't think I need. I would love a Bixby, like a Duesenberg-y kind of, but again, I don't really need it. It would just be a luxury. So I think, oh, that's really nice, actually. What are we saying? 749? Maybe. We got some P90s here. Wilkinson Trem. Shout out Wilkinson. Really good stuff. What have we got? Some nice gold sparkle.
That's interesting.
So
It's
a Reverend. We've got again Wilkinson Trem. 5-way. Bridge humbucker and 2 P90s. So on the Palomas, which I believe Dave uses, he has a SS,
Yeah.
technically. So even though this is P90.
I mean, it's close and it's quirky. I think
this might work. Oh, nice little backplate there. This, good question.
649.
649. So that's a nice...
Hell of a lot of guitar for that as well.
Yeah. Oh, Lucky Tunes as well. For 649, might go for that. And it's in
It's a
tune.
good shout. I think it's worth a gamble.
There we go.
I think the axes are... I'm pretty confident with this. I think this is wicked. Shall we go and look at some amplifiers? Let's do it. From my terrible research, the last time I saw they were using, as most bands probably were for a while, Kempers and stuff.
Yep.
Don't get excited, we're not going down that route. Back in the day, I think it was just old school Marshalls. I mean...
Yep. Marshall, I think Mesa Boogie sometimes. Everyone had their flipping dual rectifier back in the day, punk bands, metal bands. Yeah, Marshall, Mesa Boogie, that kind of saturation. Nothing too mental with gain. Like, it's quite low gain actually, and quite warm sometimes. So what are you thinking?
Orange are British, but I don't think...
British.
I don't think it's gonna do what we need to in this scenario. I mean, Derek's used old school 800s. I know Dave recently did a thing with Marshall, and I think he is actually gigging the JVM. We're both well in budget here, so I do think we can get ourselves a pretty decent Marshall tube combo for a good amount of money. So I think let's head down and look at some Marshalls. So, Land of Marshall. I mean, we've got the SC20 combo here, so this is essentially, for those who don't know, a mini JSM 800 2203 in a combo form. It's got a 10-inch speaker, which is not the end of the world, but why did you do it, Marshall? Just put a 12-inch speaker in it. These come in under £1,000, I know that. This is definitely going to be within budget.
I've got about 900 quid left.
Dave has also used DSLs, and we're allowed to use a DSL now because it's been years, all right?
After some contemplation, I think I'm gonna go Marshall. DSL 40, again, we don't need anything too crazy here. Marshall are just the backbone of distorted guitars. So this is a 2-channel rock amp. Classic gain, I'm probably gonna be sitting on classic gain. Actually, depending on how ultra gain is,
I think, yeah, to be honest with you, I mean, I think they'll balance each other out quite well, to be honest, because...
So you're going for the JCM?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for the JCM, and it's a bit more mid-heavy, so actually, seeing as I'm doing a lot more rhythm playing, I think it's going to have a bit of a thicker sound, and yours will probably cut through a little nicer.
Cool.
And if he's on JVMs now, that's probably the closest thing you'll get to a JVM.
So I'm sitting at around, oh man, maths time. I've got about 300-ish quid left.
It doesn't use a great deal of effects. I mean, I'm sitting at about... Boz.
Yeah, I should double check that.
So that gives me still a couple of £100 to do something with, and I feel like I do want to use as much of the budget up as I can. I do feel like I want to drive it with something. Seeing as I've got budget to do something spicy, I'm going to do something a little spicier, I think. I tell you what I did use a couple of weeks ago actually is the MEQ driver, because it's actually going to give me more mid boost as well. I think it's just going to open the amp up a little bit more. £1,430. So because the pedal is only £260, guitar's £349, amp £819, so I'm well within budget for that. So yeah, I'm gonna go MEQ driver. I think that's gonna sound absolutely bitchin', to be honest with you.
So I need something for the odd bit of harmony, because Dave has some harmonised lead work, like In Too Deep, the probably most famous Sum 41 solo. So the obvious choice for that would be something intelligent, probably Boss Harmonist.
Pitchfork,
or yeah, anything by Digitech.
Is that going to be fast enough to keep up with that solo?
It is pretty good. Oh, I can see it right now.
It's only those little bits, it's not that intro.
It's literally, it's like 4 notes and then off. That guy, again, sparkly, so I like it immediately. I've actually got one of them. So I'm going to have that. And then I need something to boost stuff for solos. Could do an EQ. GE7, the grey one.
The holy grail.
I just walked to an amp.
Catch. Right.
Oof, that was smooth.
Oh my god. Once I've figured out how to lock this, we can close this section of the video off and go back to the video room. We've got the rig sorted. Let's go back to the video room. We are back in the video room, joined by cups of coffee and lots of gear. So, I'll start with mine first.
Go for it, yeah.
So, obviously,
Derek.
I am Derek Wibley. I do hope I'm pronouncing that right.
I think that's what it is.
Wibley.
Wimbly.
Wibley.
Derek Wimbly.
As you will see on the floor from our wonderful overhead camera, which might be picking it up, there have been a few changes. As with all these things, until you get it in the room, we are completely firing from the hip here, and the choice of overdrive wasn't really working for the rig, because the JSM800 is a pretty low gain amp as it goes, so unless you open it up on full volume, it just needs that little bit of push. So pedal-wise, I had to take out the MEQ drive. It just wasn't quite cutting it for what we needed.
Sometimes rigs on paper work, but in practice they just don't agree.
It was a pedal that I tried out through a similar style amp a couple of weeks back and thought that would be perfect, but it didn't actually work for the 800. So I went old school with it and went with a clon style pedal. So the MEQ driver was £250, which didn't leave me enough budget for anything else, and we were finding that it was just giving a little bit too much high-end squeal in between sort of playing, so I did need a noise gate and a different style overdrive. The MEQ, as it is a mid-drive, it was just boosting high mid, too much squeal. So we went with the Conspiracy Theory from Way Huge, which is their version of a clon style pedal, and again it's nice because it's transparent, just drives the amp a little bit more. And then the Boss NS2, which is
clearing that up,
doing a lot of work, as you can hear there. So that's set with a little bit of bite to it, not much gain and not a lot of output, because I didn't want to go overboard with it, because we had too much gain. That's one thing.
41, like, Still Waiting, if you listen to that verse riff that's super like Metallica-y, it's very low gain. It's kind of weird to hear that part with that little gain on it, but it works.
Like, I'm playing at home with like full bore gain and everything, which live they're probably doing anyway, but actually when you do listen to the record, it is
quite conservative with the gain.
Unfortunately, Pete was right. Too much gain, but let's not make a big deal out of that, eh?
Show us the amp then without pedals.
So yeah, let's get into some tones. So this is just the tone that I'm working with straight into the amp.
Like AC/DC levels of
gain.
There's
not a lot. That's crunchy. That's what I would consider crunch. EQ settings, I'm not sure if the mic is going to be in the way, but again, the JSM800 is a bright amp, and like we pointed out in the store, this has only got a 10-inch speaker for some weird reason. The Jubilee and the JTM45 have a 12-inch, but they decided a 10-inch speaker would be appropriate for this, and they're wrong. So all the bass cranked to add a little bit more low end, which a lot of people do with an 800 anyway. Decent amount of mids, because the mid control on this is actually quite usable. Backing off the treble and the presence because it's so damn bright. And then we're cranking the preamp, which actually adds... The thing is with an 800, your gain's coming from the preamp. If you sit it at about sort of 6 out of 10, then it's still fairly tight, but we actually needed a bit more sag from this, so actually cranking the preamp to add a bit of low end. So with that preamp all the way in, if I then back it off, it's that low end thump that I actually need from it. And then master isn't adding too much to the saturation of it because it is set quite low, which is where the pedal comes in. So without pedal, with. Just breaking it up a little bit more. So it's still tight for that triplet stuff, and then the noise gate does this.
That simple.
And then it just helps tighten it up, particularly with that kind of riff in Still Waiting. Just really helps tighten that up. And then the guitar, I mean, again, it's like Ollie very kindly pointed out to us in store because we had no idea. You've got the 3-way selector, which gives you single coil, full wide range humbucker, and full wide range with the tone bypass and the volume bypassed as well.
Yeah.
But
and you're in humbucker mode, weren't you?
yeah, in humbucker, because that does then add more brightness to it when you bypass that circuit anyway, which this rig does not need any more brightness from it. I think we should hear about Dave's rig.
Yeah, so I'm Dave at the minute. Lead guitarist of Sum 41. And my rig, so starting with this, the old Reverend, I just bridge pickup all the way. I didn't need anything else. Although it can do 5, I'll just show you that because I can. So let's bring back the gain a bit. Bridge humbucker, position 2. Which I guess is that.
Very Sum 41.
Yeah. Middle P90, kind of like that. Quite punchy actually. I like it more than a Strat middle. Position 4, so that'll be these two P90s, I presume. Sounds great actually. Wow. Neck P90, nice and thick. Yeah, really very like broad sounding pickups actually. Again, I didn't have any distortion on the floor, so this is all just coming from the volume of the guitar, giving it more or less. And I guess these are just 2 tones, no push-pull fancy stuff, just 2 tones and a volume. But yeah, as I said, I was in bridge humbucker the entire time. Didn't need to use the Wilkinson trem because there was no kind of 80s trem dive bomb stuff going on. And yeah, it feels great. I mean, locking tuners, it's kitted out really nicely. It's just a...
I think it's a cool alternative to that Duesenberg as
yeah,
well.
that's kind of what I think the thought process was, wasn't it? So
yeah.
We could have gone PRS and played it very safe because it's, you know, PRS do everything really well, but this is kind of characterful with the P90s if you want that extra sound. So that's the guitar. On the floor, you'll see we've got the EQ and the harmonist. I didn't even use the EQ in the end because I didn't need to. The only thing I did was just boost up the volume. I have dialed it in to kind of show what it could be used for before I get to the harmonist. So this is just going straight into the front end, and as you can see, I'm adding 400, 800 and 1.6. I don't want to add any more kind of brightness, sizzle, clack of the pick attack. It's going to get nasty, so you'll hear it adds quite a bit of egg frying, but it's just going to push the mids a bit more. So without... And it's going to add some gain because it's increasing the level, but if I just compensate, bring down the master of it a bit. It's very subtle actually in the front end. It'll be more powerful in the loop, which brings me onto the harmonist. So, the harmonist is in the loop. As you can see, we've got more than like a simple, you know, jack lead thread going on here. So, the harmonist is in the loop. If you put it in the front end, it's like playing into a, you know,
it sounds
into the front
like
end.
you're playing the intervals.
Yeah, and you don't
yourself.
want that because this is doubling a guitar sound, so you don't want 2 guitars going into the front end of the same amp. So essentially, it's harmonizing the distorted sound, which is what you want. So we've got it set up very simply. Each of these is going to mean a different kind of harmony setting. I've just got it set on a third, so I just played the lower part and then it did the third on top. So for In Too Deep, which I think we're in now, it's going to add on this, if I made it all the way wet. Oh, that feels so weird. And then if I balance it with the part I'm actually playing, it adds the harmony, which is really, really cool. So that's what I did for that. And then for the other example, which was in the house song, I put it into B major. And then, what was the line in that? And it's just great. It's so simple and fun, and it's like it brings a smile to your face because it's cool doing harmonised guitars.
It's interesting doing it because obviously they're not using this live, and live they've got however many guitarists now.
So it's a nice little. How much is a harmonist? I can't remember now. It's like
about
£100-ish.
£100, yeah.
Yeah, so it's great, and it can do loads of cool stuff actually. Like there's some super bends. I can't remember what this can go up and then down. It's a great pedal actually. I've got one, and I should bring it back out actually because I've enjoyed using it today. Onto the amp. So the DSL-40. For this, I was in OD1 on the Ultra Gain. Ultra Gain is very optimistic. It's not like a 5150 or anything, but it's enough to do some 41's lead tone anyway. So if I really push the Ultra Gain, you kind of get the harmonics coming out, and it's very bright and martially, sizzly stuff, which I kind of like. I like that top end. I'm old school in that way, but I had it, I think, just below noon, and then I was just riding the volume. So with it all the way open was the lead sound, and with it brought back to about 7.5, 8, that was the rhythm. And then all the way up, it was a bit more than that, like 6. And the EQ's fairly, actually quite bold. So the treble, just below noon, because it's quite bright. Bass is in the middle, just left that where it was. Middle is all the way up.
You do kind of need it. I've got a DSL 100 watt head at home, and again, it's exactly how I ride it, because, I mean, Dave uses JVMs anyway, which have got way more mid-range to them than the DSL, but you do kind of need to gun the mids on it a little bit.
Without that, like if I put the mids in the mid, it would be, which feels kind of pleasing, but with two guitars, that just brings the upper mids up.
Definition.
For the solos and stuff, you kind of need that. Presence backed off a bit, because again, it's kind of bright. Resonance left it in the middle, because I still want it to be thick, don't want it to be thin. And then just master, around noon, and we're kind of, together we were about 95 decibels or something like that. So it's got enough punch, like the master could go up way more. And again, does the job. I've got way more channels than I need here. Like, I'm a controls player, really. I don't like tap dancing. I like, if I can do it from a volume control on a guitar, I will.
Yeah.
And it did the job, just that and a harmonist. And that was enough for me to think about. You may have seen me, like, really concentrating in that, trying to do that at the right time and turn it off. If that had a momentary version, that would be excellent.
Can you run an expression in? You can. It, so you
it does. Rewind. Ignore that. But I don't have one right now. I think it may have been out of budget, actually. But we'll do the numbers in a minute. Dave's lead Sum 41 rig came to 1,476 British pounds, with enough maybe to buy a cheap expression pedal for the momentary thing. You can probably find something on the internet for that.
MXR do like a little button switch as well that you can.
Of course,
I think the tap tempo thing. I don't know if that would do the same thing.
But that's literally all that's coming to mind. Maybe some picks or something. But and again, I've got an EQ that I'm not even using.
So if you took that out, that's
1,376-ish. So enough for something else, but I'm really chuffed just, this three-piece setup, guitar, harmonist and Marshall did the job for me. So,
they do sound really great in the room together. Then my rig, Derek Wibley's rig. So mine came to £1,431.99. So again,
similar.
I've got a nice amount of budget left to spend on accessories or bits and bobs there.
Yeah. Some 41 final show tickets. Rest in peace.
To be fair, that's probably about as much for a ticket.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so we could do that. So, yeah, the Conspiracy Theory came in at £165, NS2 at 99, guitar 349, and then 819 for my fabled JCM 800 combo. So I am mega chuffed with my rig, and I do think they complement each other pretty well. And
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
this was probably a very successful video, but I'm sure you will let us know in the comments. Obviously, if you want to find out any more about the gear, specs, further pricing on it, then we have got the links below in the description where you can go and find that out.
And there is also a new Andertons channel called Andertons 2 where you can hear nothing but guitars. No talking, no nonsense, just guitar playing. So head on over to that if you want to check it out.
Just tones. And don't forget, be sure to like and subscribe, because as soon as we hit the 1 million mark, one of those clones goes out to one of you. I've been Ben.
I've been John.
Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next video.
Yeah.